How's it going, Guardians? It is your boy Turkey here at SGN, and now that we have had a couple days to digest some of the content that has been put out by Heresy, obviously the ones that I was talking about prior were the exotic glaive changes. And first and foremost, I'll probably make a smaller separate video about, I don't know if it's a working as intended feature, but I'll just get this out of the way now. Currently, you can equip all three of the class-specific glaives on whether it be Hunter, Titan, or Warlock. So I'll have some background gameplay first and foremost, so we talk about builds and if it's even going to be something that's permanent. But you'll see I'm actually using the edge of action, what is the Titan glaive on my Hunter, and you could, it's interchangeable to any of them. With all that stuff being said, and that quick little quote-unquote bug, or potentially as intended, let's talk about whether or not I feel like this is a rework just only or just a nerf. And I think I'm going to have to stick with my guns on the previous video. The Edge of Concurrence, I think, got a very, very hard nerf. And as cool as it is that the weapon has jolting feedback, just as often as the Edge of Concurrence procs jolting feedback, I feel like you could simply proc the actual weapon special shot with 2 Lucent Blade mods prior to the Heresy patch. I was using the Hunter Glaive, and it just feels worse to use. For me personally, maybe it feels better on other classes with the quote-unquote bug. I don't know if that's intended, but I was extremely disappointed to use the Edge of Concurrence whenever it is now attached to these 6 weapon charges. I never really found myself in melee range to take advantage of a faster 2 ticks of the charge shot. It is a little bit quicker to get that on other instances, but for now we're talking about the concurrence. And I think my main issue is that the special shot that you got prior to Heresy was a lot quicker, because you would get the special shot, and then as I mentioned, it was only 2 shots to activate that special shot again. Now you're proccing 6 shots to get the exact same damage out of it. Whether jolting feedback procs on the special shot, to me, is it's pretty irrelevant, because it did enough damage before on its own to clear out all the enemies, and they added the intrinsic jolt feedback to it before. So I feel like they could have either left the Edge of Concurrence maybe at 4 ticks, because it's the only one that you're actively shooting at enemies and you could recharge. But like I said, I feel like the Edge of Concurrence ultimately comes out as a nerfed state. Now, the same thing won't be said about the other 2, honestly. There's definitely going to be a lot of build avenues, at least for Titan, now that a lot of the glaive, all the glaive energy for the exotics are tied to that, the melee tick, just that 6 hits in general. One in particular that I was using was Wormgod's Caress on Strand Titan, because you had Banner of War and you were just meleeing things, you get that extra melee damage, and they also added that double damage to the final combo of the melee combination for Glaives. So you're able to hit really hard, and you can generate a lot of bubbles, as you can see in the background gameplay, and it works really well with the Saint 14 build as well, especially now that every single time you get a kill with the projectile aspect of the Edge of Action, you're going to get that volatile rounds to your Void weapon. That it works really well also with Gerfalcon. Like I said, you're able to use this on your Hunter, at least as of the time that I'm making this video. For, February 6th, right now, you're able to use the Edge of Action on Hunter, Titan, Warlock, whatever you want, and same thing can be said about the other ones. That worked really well with Gerfalcon, and also with the Triton's Vice. Those are really cool combinations, seeing the explosion from the class exotic, glaives, because now they have Scorch on the Warlock glaive, destabilizing rounds on the Edge of Action, and it has the jolting feedback on the Edge of Concurrence. But like I said, I think that sucks. Honestly, I think the Edge of Action is going to be my favorite one. Like I said, you have those couple things initially going into it. The Vex Caliber definitely competes now, I think, in terms of how I'll use it against Edge of, in vice versa against Edge of Action with its buffs. But let's move on to the Edge of Intent, which is going to be the class-specific glaive for the Warlocks. And this one definitely, I think, was a solid buff. It is definitely a buff ultimately in this one. I think, honestly, the Edge of Action and the Edge of Intent come out of this above where they were. I'm still extremely sad about the swap to 6 charge shots. I really don't even know where that came from. A directive, for directionally from Bungie. I guess meleeing and, having it attached to just the energy was a little bit too much. I have no clue where that came from, and as it changed, I just don't. But the Edge of Intent feels really nice, seeing as it got the same changes that the Mask of the Speaker got, i.e. the healing turret only targeting enemies that are damaged. It also releases a Cure Pulse on impact, which is really cool. And you can melee with that, whether it be on the Titan and take advantage of that Wormgod's Caress, or also the Necrotic Grips, which creates that poison cloud every time you use it on your Warlock, and you'll be able to charge that turret up. Now I think it is, I'm not sure if it's cure times 2 whenever you initially shoot it, as it, is for like heal clip and stuff on some weapons. I'm not sure. But it seems like these weapons definitely will get a little bit more spotlight. It's hard for me to truly call this a buff. And the only reason I say that is because of that charge rate being attached to those 6 shots. I feel like ultimately it is because more people are going to use it, because you do have the subclass verbs attached to, you know, all 3 of them really. Even though it had jolt before, now it has jolting feedback as well. I think we'll see a lot more play with these, especially with the unstoppable glaive. But my thing is, I feel like they will probably fade into obscurity again after the season. We do have a lot of mods that are tailored to glaives in the, well, not, I wouldn't say a lot. We have a couple. We have the surrounded one, then you have unstoppable glaives, and the one that heals you as well. But something about these changes in particular, I just can't put my finger on it other than those 6 shots. It just doesn't feel quite right. It feels good on the Titan, and it feels good on the Warlock glaive, but the edge of concurrence, I think, got absolutely nerfed. But with that being said, what do you guys think? If you are a user of the exotic glaives, let me know your opinions on it. And also, if you've had the experience of using the class exotic glaives on their not assigned classes. Like I said, I was using the edge of action on my hunter, and that was really cool to be using the edge of action with Gerfalcon, seeing as it has that volatile attached to it. If that is something that is working as intended, you'll definitely be seeing some builds coming out of here for a Void Hunter or Prismatic Hunter with the edge of action. Being a Hunter, being able to put up a bubble shield is actually insane. And being a Titan that can put up a healing turret is pretty insane. So there's 2 little swaps that we're going to be able to do, hoping that this stays in the game. I feel like a lot of times this doesn't really compromise the game's integrity, and Bungie usually sticks with those things. So be on the lookout for those. With that being said, it's been your boy Turk here at SGN. Another Destiny video coming up soon. Peace.